Hello. Welcome to another live. I'm Brian Cristiano, the founder and CEO of Bold Worldwide. I'm also a growth strategist to brands and celebrities, and I advise and coach CEOs and successful entrepreneurs. Now, today, what are we here to talk about? Look at this. Motivation is not enough. Motivation is not enough. What? That's not enough, Brian? I can't be successful on motivation alone? No. You cannot be successful on motivation alone. Motivation is not enough. What am I talking about? Look, if you've got big dreams, if you've got big goals, whether we're talking personally or business-wise or both, which you should have big goals and big dreams both personally and professionally. Look, I've worked with some of the biggest celebrities, World Series champions, Fortune 500 executives, billionaires, and I can tell you, the common thing that I hear from all of them is, look, you cannot just stay motivated and create success. Success is not the outcome of you staying motivated. That's not how and why people become motivated. Motivation fails. Motivation is not sustainable. Motivation is like a little dopamine hit in your brain. That's literally what motivation is. You get a little dopamine hit in your brain and you're like, "Ooh, I feel good." But that does not lead to success. That does not lead to your goals, right? Getting on YouTube and watching a bunch of motivational videos, that feels great. That's not making you successful. Listening to 27 different podcasts and 16 different Instagram accounts, looking at what they're all posting about motivation is not making you any more successful than you would be without that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. We all need motivation. I need motivation, right? Like you got, jumping on, watching a little video or pulling up some Ed Milet or some of my videos or something like that, right? Getting yourself amped and then going and taking action. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a powerful tool. But what I'm here to talk about is that motivation is not enough, right? If you really want to achieve your goals, if you want to get to the next level in life or business, you got to go beyond motivation, right? Like, you got to really figure out, where you want to go and get beyond just being motivated and being excited and feeling good and getting that dopamine hit. If you want to do big things, if you want to create success and get to the next level, you need a strategy. You need a strategy. Success is strategic. Say that with me. So success is strategic. Success is not motivation. You can be motivated to execute a strategy, but motivation alone does not help you get to the next level. You need a strategy to hit your big goals, to get yourself, your business, and your life and your finances where you want to be in the world. And listen, we're talking about strategy, right? Before we can even figure out, what's a strategy? Strategy is a roadmap. So strategies are tactics that help us figure out what's the next step and the next step and the next step and what's the outcome of all those steps, right? That's a strategy. However, before you can even sit down and go, all right, well, I'm going to come up with a good strategy so I can be successful. We got to zoom out a little bit, right? First, we got to get real, super clear clarity on the outcome that you want. What do you want? Ask yourself, answer this question. What do you want? What do you really want in life, in business, your finances? What do you really want and why do you want that? I was just speaking with someone today who's trying to go from $500,000 to $1 million in personal income. That's amazing. But I said, why? What does $1 million do for you that $500,000 does not? He talked about financial freedom and he talked about his family and he talked about the things that he's going to do with that money. I said, okay, great. Well, listen, the $1 million is not it. You want those things. You want that outcome. You want that stability for your family. You want to put your kid through college without ever having to blink an eye. That's what you really want. So great. That's what you want, but we need to create clarity on the outcome. And then we need to figure out, what are the focus areas? What do you need to focus in on? What's the impact that you need to create in order to hit that clear outcome, that target that you want to get to? Right? What do you need to focus in on? What are the areas of impact? All right, you want to go from $500,000 to $1 million in personal income. That's great. What are the opportunities? What are you going to do? How are you going to sell enough things, enough widgets in order to get to the million? You got to do double the amount of work. Or we can find something twice as expensive for you to sell. Or we can negotiate your commission. Or, right, those are the things that we need to figure out. So what are we going to focus in on? What are the areas of impact that are going to have the biggest impact that gets you to that clear goal, that clear outcome? And then third is, you need to take massive action on the right things at the right time in the right order. Because isn't it true? Isn't it true? Wouldn't you agree that you've done things that you're like, man, I did all the right steps. I did I read the book and I did step 1 through 10. And it didn't come out, for me. It didn't work out for me that way. Right? Like I took a bunch of action. I took all the steps and it just did not work out for me the way I intended. Right? How many can agree that they've done something like that in life where they're like, hey, I followed the steps, I followed the strategy and it didn't work? Hey, Michael, how are you? We all have, right? Why is that? Why do we follow the steps, follow the formula and not get the results? Well, it's definitely because the person that wrote that book or the blog post was in a different position than you were when you needed to execute it, right? And so not all of the variables were the same. And so those tactics might be right, that strategy might be right, but it might not have been the right time or the right order, or you put action on the wrong things at the wrong time, right? So you could do 10 steps, but if you put step 6 before step 7, it's not going to come out the same, right? It's like baking a cake. You put the ingredients in wrong, or in the wrong amounts, in the wrong order, and you're not going to get what you intended to create. And so that's why it's not just enough to take a bunch of action, but you have to really take the right action at the right time in the right sequence in order to get where you want. And it's really individualized, right? So that's what the strategy is. But before you can figure that out, you got to understand, what's the outcome I'm creating? What is my clarity and why am I doing it? What do I really want? What do I really, really want? And then what are the areas that I need to focus on to create the most impact? Now, how do I take massive action on the right things in the right order? Nowhere in there did I say, you got to be motivated and watch 15 YouTube videos. Unless they're mine, then you can watch them. That's fine. But in all seriousness, right? Like, yes, you need to stay motivated, of course. But I'll get into how motivation plays into a smart strategy to take your life or your business to the next level. I'll talk about that in a minute. Stay with me here. You got to think about this, though, not in terms of 5 years or 2 years or 2 days. Because most people, when they start to figure out, okay, well, what's my strategy? They either think way too far down the line. They go, all right, well, 5 years, I'm going to have this and this and this. Please. How many times have you thought like, all right, 5 years from now, I'm going to be here. And then what, a month later, are you still like looking at your 5-year goal target chart and checking things off the box? No, you're not. I'm going to have that $1 million house in 5 years. Come on. Like, that's so not achievable in the short term. And so what happens is you come up with this grand vision for 5 years from now, even 2 years from now. And what happens? You're not making enough progress towards it. You don't perceive that you're creating progress towards that big goal. So all of a sudden, you start taking the wrong actions. You get a little less focused on it. It becomes a little less important. Maybe you're not as excited, and then you're less motivated. And guess what? They come up with some other goals at some other time where you forget about them, right? And you find the book that you wrote them down in 10 years ago, and you're like, oh, wow, yeah, I wanted to do those things, and I never did. That's sad, right? Like, you don't want to live that life. You want to say, hey, I said I was going to do these things in 5 years. Not only did I achieve it, I achieved more than I could have dreamed. That's what you want to accomplish, right? So you have these dreamers, these people that are thinking of 5 years out from now, and it's not attainable. It's too big of a picture. It's too far down the road, right? Opposite side of the spectrum, I find that there's so many business owners, entrepreneurs, and just regular people that are like, well, I'm thinking about, all right, I got to do this today. I got to check these 20 things off my to-do list. And then I got to do this for next week. And maybe they're thinking about the rest of the month, but usually you're thinking like today, tomorrow, this week. And listen, like if your goal in life is to check boxes off of a to-do list, that's a great strategy. But if that is not your ultimate goal in life, is to check off boxes, and your goal is something bigger, if you want to do more and achieve more and create more and have more, well, you can't think in single day increments or weekly increments. And so what I've found is you need to think about your life and your business in 90-day cycles. 90 days. Why? Because listen, think about this. If you said, hey, listen, here's the plan, whether it's a workout plan or a business plan or a life financial plan, he said, listen, just follow these steps for 90 days. And you knew at the end of the 90 days, you'd have what you wanted. Could you stick with it? Most of you, at least the folks that are, have some drive, right? There's some lazy people who are like, yeah, I signed up for that and I sat on the couch and forgot about it. But that's probably not you if you're watching this, right? So yeah, you could probably stick to a plan for 90 days. And guess what? Could you be motivated every single day to say, okay, today is the day that I do these things, this part, this step? Could you be motivated for the process? Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot easier to be motivated for the process than it is for just every day in general. What's up, Alex? Right? It's a lot easier to stay motivated for the process, to know that that process is getting you closer towards your goals, right? And guess what? On the days where you're not motivated and you're like, F this, like I'm not motivated, you don't even have to turn to YouTube. You know what you do? You know what you do? You just do it anyway. You just take the action anyway, because that's what you're supposed to do today. Hey, I don't feel, when I used to bike race, there was a lot of days where I'm like, dude, I don't feel like getting up at 4:30 in the morning, going riding 2.5 hours. But guess what? I knew that that was my plan for that day. And if I was going to race, 3 weeks from then, that if I didn't put that workout in today, if I didn't get up at 4:30 and put in a 2.5 hour workout, the 3 weeks from now, that race is going to really hurt. So you know what? I'm not motivated, but I'm going to go do it anyway. Right? See the difference? You see the difference in why motivation is not going to create success. If I expected to wake up every single day when I used to bike race and go, today I feel amazing, I'm going to go out and crush it on my bike. If I expected to feel that way every single day, eventually it would wear off. Eventually I'd be like, dude, my legs are tired. I feel like I'm going to puke. I have a headache. It's too early. I didn't eat well last night. You know what? I'll skip today and then tomorrow. And then it gets harder. And then you don't get closer to your goals. You actually get farther and farther and farther and farther away from your goals. And it happens slowly over time. Haven't you experienced that? Where it's like, I don't even know what happened. I just woke up one morning and like my goals were here and I felt like I was working towards them. And then a year passed and I'm nowhere near it. How many does it happen to? Right? It happens to everybody. And that's because you're trying to rely on motivation to drive you towards success, and it will not. You need a strategy. You need a plan. And so the reason I choose 90-day cycles, 90-day increments to create a strategy for people and for businesses is because, guess what? You could do anything for 90 days if you really had to. And if you knew that was driving you towards success, you could do it for 90 days. 90 days is a short enough time horizon where, hey, listen, I'll do anything for 90 days if it's going to help me get where I need to go. Great. So you stay motivated for that period of time, number one. And number two, it's a long enough period of time. 90 days is long enough for anybody who's willing to put in the work and take the level of action necessary. You could transform a life. You can transform a business in 90 days or less, right? And so it's a long enough time horizon to have true, real, lasting impact, but it's also short enough to where you can feel it. You can see 90 days out. And so really, for me, most importantly, when you have the right strategy over a 90-day period to improve your life, in your business and your income and your growth, you can commit to that. It's tangible. And in the days you're not motivated, you just follow the plan. And maybe that's when you throw up YouTube, you watch one of my videos and you get a little dopamine hit and you feel better. And then you do it anyway, but you feel a little bit better about it, right? So I ask you, do you think that you could commit to something for 90 days if it was going to impact your life or your business? I know I have. I know I do, right? And that's why motivation alone is not enough, right? You can't stay just excited for 90 days and think you're going to accomplish a big goal. You have to have a strategy. You have to have an action plan. You have to have a roadmap on how are you going to get there? Because guess what? Success is not driven by motivation. Success is mathematical. Success is measurable. Success is achievable when you have the right plan and you take the right action in the right time and you're super clear on the outcome that you actually want. Because when you're super clear on hey, this is what I want and why I want it. Not, hey, I want to make $1 million, but hey, I want to go from $500,000 to $1 million because it's going to create financial freedom for my family and I'm going to put my kid through college and we're going to be able to live on that, island. Great. Well, when you're putting that picture in your head for 90 days going, hey, I'm doing this because I'm going to be on that island. My kid's, going to be able to go to college and I'm going to have financial freedom. When you're thinking about that, you're going to take those steps. You're going to move forward with that strategy. You're going to be a little bit more naturally motivated. And on the days where you're not motivated and you don't have a YouTube video to get you motivated, guess what? You're going to do it anyway. You're going to wake up at 4:30 and you're going to get on a bike because that is what is going to put you this much closer to potentially winning that race. And if you don't, you're going to be this much closer, this much farther away from ever being able to win it. You see what I mean? See the difference? Right? You could take those steps for 90 days. You really can. So listen, let me recap this a little bit for you, right? If you want to change your life, big or small, but preferably big. You want to change your business. You want to change your income. You want to change your wealth. You have to understand that motivation is not enough. It's just a dopamine hit. It doesn't mean anything, right? You'll need a strategy, right? You need a strategy, and you got to start with before you can figure out what the strategy has to be. You can call strategy an action plan if you want. Make it simpler. That's fine. It's an action plan, a strategy, right? But before you get there, you really need to have utmost clarity on the outcome that you want. You need to figure out, like, what do you want? Why do you want it? What's the outcome that you get by reaching that goal? And then you got to figure out, what are the most impactful areas that are going to reach that goal the fastest with the least amount of effort? Because I know we live in hustle culture right now, but let me tell you, man, like, I live it. Don't get me wrong. Like, I work a zillion hours, and that's fine, but, intentionally, usually. But here's the thing, though. Like, you're not also just going to hustle yourself to success. You're not going to stay motivated and hustle and be successful. It's absolutely not going to happen. You're going to be burned out. You're going to be tired. And you're going to wonder why you never reached that goal, why you never hit the $1 million. You're going to wonder why, right? It's because you're not focused on the most impactful areas, and you're probably not super clear on the outcome that you want. But then once you're super clear and you're focusing only on the areas that have the biggest leverage, the biggest outcome with the least amount of effort, and then you take massive, massive action towards your goal on just the things that have the most impact, you're going to get there so much faster. And if you do this over a 90-day period of time, where you can see that horizon just over the hump there, and you can see that 90-day goal in front of you, you can achieve anything that you want, big or small, because it's a formula. Success is a formula, right? When I talk to some of the most successful people in the world, billionaires and celebrities and World Series champions, it's all formulaic. No, don't get me wrong. There's other variables, and there is some, relative luck involved, right? Right place at the right time is what I mean by luck, right? Of course. However, it's a formula. You do the right things in the right order, like baking a cake, and you're going to have a cake. But you want a cake, and you're like, I don't know what ingredients to throw in, so I'm going to put a bunch of crap in a bowl. It's probably going to be a pretty shitty cake. Let's be real, right? And so that's why I'm telling you this, because I just see so many people, and I get so many messages like, how do I stay motivated? How do you stay motivated when you're tired? I'm like, I don't. I'm just tired, man. And they're like, what do you mean? You're just tired. You seem amped up all the time. I'm like, yeah, because I amp myself up to go on camera, or that's when I'm motivated and I get on camera. Like, off camera, no, don't get me wrong, I'm motivated probably a lot of the time. I'm a pretty high energy individual naturally. But man, there are times where I'm like, dude, I'm not getting out of bed. My allergies are killing me and I'm exhausted. Like, just by the way, total rant, side rant, like any of you that suffer with allergies, like it took me years to figure out that allergies was my issue. And because I don't get any of the traditional symptoms, I don't get runny eyes, I don't sneeze, I don't get wheezy or coughy or anything like that. I just get super tired, like a truck hit me. And that was like years and years ago, a friend of mine was like, you go see an allergist. I'm telling you, it's probably an allergy why you're so tired. I'm like, what are you talking about? They, do all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, like you have insane allergies. I don't know where my focus went. Hello. Hey, camera. There we go. Cool. They're like, you have insane allergies. And they're like, this small percentage of the population doesn't get any of the regular symptoms, just get tired. And I'm like, really? That's what I get. So anyway, man, because of that, it's like, I know that, and I'm obviously able to pop the claret and try to time out my life a little bit. But the reality is, man, I have some pretty strong allergies right now, man. And I wake up in the morning and I feel like a ton of bricks hit me. And even my wife's like, you got 10 hours of sleep last night. I'm like, no, I didn't. I feel like crap, But the truth of the matter is, like, those are the days where I'm not motivated. But you know what I do? I get up and I do it anyway, because I have a 90-day goal. I have a very clear strategy. I know what I'm trying to achieve, and I'm very super clear on what's going to have the biggest impact for me. And so I do that. I do it anyway. When I used to bike race, and I used to get up super, super early, like I said, at 4:30 in the morning to get on the bike for 2 hours, I didn't want to get up every day. Some days I did. I didn't always want to get up, but I did it anyway because it was part of the plan. It was the formula to success. You got to figure out what's your formula to success. Now, I'll answer a few questions here. Let me see. Jason, tips for getting decision makers' attention. You got to get creative, man, if you want to get decision makers' attention, especially right now. Right? You got to get creative. You got to go way above and beyond what you're used to doing. You got to take a lot higher, bigger level of action, and you got to take control. I did a video on this the other day. You got to take control of the situation, meaning you got to figure out what's the value proposition for them that you have, right? I can tell you, I get hundreds, I'm not even joking, hundreds of DMs on LinkedIn every single day. Hey, SEO, hey, this, hey, leads, hey, whatever. And everybody's like, hey, I do this, let's jump on a 15-minute call. I'm not jumping on a 15-minute call with anybody. Like, I don't have 15 minutes, let alone like that's what everyone says. So you got to get creative, right? Doing business with someone right now who sent me a video. It was like a 10-minute video, and I don't watch 10-minute videos, but they sent me a 10-minute video, and they were recording themselves talking about my company, and they were looking at my Instagram page, and they were looking at my website, etc. And they're showing me all the stuff that they see and how they can help, and what the other clients are similar that they've done all these things for. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. It did a few things. One, it stuck out because nobody does that. Two, they clearly took the time to understand me, my company, my brand, what I was up to, how they could help. And then they showcased other similar clients on how does this work for the other people they do business with, right? And so that got my attention. We got on a call. We're doing business, right? So you got to think outside of the box. You got to get creative. You got to get creative. You want to get decision makers' attention. So yeah, and by the way, if you want to have a copy of a worksheet, it's very simple. It's just a handful of pages in a PDF that you can kind of fill out, and you can go through a little bit of an exercise for clarity and focus and action, and where you're, and kind of figure out like where are you imbalanced and what to do about it. If you want a copy of that workbook, just DM me. And I'll get it to you. So if you want to copy the workbook on really how do you achieve your goals, how do you figure out the balance between the outcome and the goals that you want, create real smart clarity around that, how to take enough action and focus on the right things, send me a DM and I'll send you the workbook. But listen, this whole video, I'm going to wrap this up with this. It's all about why motivation is not enough. Because guess what? Most successful people in the world, the people that you're putting up on a pedestal, the people that you see on Instagram who are hustling every day, dude, they're not motivated all the time. You're just seeing that little glimpse of like when they're amped up, extra caffeined, right? Like when they're feeling motivated that day. That's what you're seeing. And now, granted, there are some really high energy individuals at the top. I'd like to think of myself as a very high level, high energy individual. However, I'm just telling you, like, you can't expect to feel motivated all the time. You can't expect motivation to drive you towards your goal. It's not going to happen. It's not realistic, and it doesn't work for anybody. You got to really figure out what is it that you actually want in life and in business. Get super clear on what that outcome is, why you want it, and then come up with a strategy. What are you going to focus in on, and how are you going to take enough action in the right order at the right time so it's a formula to success? You want to go from a $500,000 personal income to $1 million, it's a formula. You want to drive your business from 5 million to 10 million, it's a formula. You want to go from 50 million to 100 million, it's a formula. It's the same. It's more complex to go from 50 million to 100 million than it is to go from a $500,000 to $1 million, but it is just a formula, and it's the same exact process. So listen, DM me if you want to copy that workbook. I'd be happy to do that. And I wish you, I don't know what's going on with this focus, man. This is driving me crazy. Like, hello. Hey, camera. What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up, camera? I don't know what's up with that. Anyway, but listen, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was valuable for you. If it was, please share and comment. And by the way, if you want me to cover some other specific topics in the future, just comment below and let me know what topics you'd like for me to cover and go in depth in. Because I'm going to be doing a lot more of this content, and I hope it's helpful. I hope it's valuable for you, for your coworkers, for your family. Please share it out. And DM me if you want to copy that workbook. Now, go out, be bold. You can go stay motivated. Hopefully this motivates you a little bit. But remember, it's not about motivation. You got enough of that naturally. And if you don't, who cares? Do it anyway. Do it anyway. Come up with a strategy. Focus in on 90 days. Get really clear on the goals that you want and take action on the things that have the most impact. Don't fall into the hustle culture. Go, be bold. I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next live.